The real test of a relationship-driven firm doesn't happen in a routine review meeting. It happens when life changes, or when the relationship itself changes, and the client has to decide whether trust still feels safe.
And those moments may look personal on the surface, but they carry real business consequences underneath. That's where retention gets tested, succession gets exposed, and the client experience becomes very real.
This is Advising Humans, a podcast about the human moments that shape trust, loyalty, and the future of advice.
Because clients don't just remember the quality of the plan, they remember how a firm shows up when life gets hard, when relationships shift, and when trust gets tested.
In this episode, we're digging into the business case for the human side of advice and why retention, succession, referrals, and firm value often get shaped in moments that feel personal first.
And why firms that know how to build trust through life transitions are more likely to carry that trust across generations.
Let's dive in. So, Kathleen, I keep coming back to this. Pretty much every advisory firm out there says it's relationship-driven.
Totally. It's on every website, every brochure. It's the first thing they say.
It is, but I don't think the real test of that shows up in a normal review meeting. I think it shows up when something big changes.
Absolutely, when life actually happens.
When a client gets divorced, or a spouse dies, a business gets sold. Or on the firm side, a senior advisor retires, a top advisor leaves, and all of a sudden the client is told, "You'll be working with someone new." That's when the relationship gets tested for real. Not in theory, in real life. And for firms, those moments carry a lot more risk and a lot more opportunity than many leaders fully realize.
Yes, and I think that's such an important point because those moments are never just operational. They're emotional, they're relational, they're behavioral. And if a client already feels uncertain about life, any change in the advisory relationship just adds to it.
It just pours gasoline on the fire.
It really does. Things that look like internal firm events, a new advisor assignment, a succession transition, a merger, can feel intensely personal to the client. They start asking quieter questions. Do I still matter here? Will this new person really understand us? Am I starting over from scratch? Is this relationship still safe? That's where the risk of losing the client really begins.
And I think that's what we really want to get into today on Advising Humans, the business case for the human side of advice, because this is not just about being empathetic or having a good bedside manner.
No, this isn't a soft skills conversation.
Not at all. This is about retention, trust holding up through change, stronger referrals, client experience, and how prepared advisors really are. I mean, it's about firm value over time.
Right, because technical excellence is expected now. Clients assume the planning will be good. They assume the firm knows what it's doing. But what they don't assume, and what they remember very clearly, is how the firm shows up when life gets hard. Did they feel understood? Did the transition feel personal? Did the next generation feel welcomed? That's where differentiation gets real.
So true, because some of the biggest risks inside a firm are hiding in moments that look personal, not financial. A client going through a divorce, a retiree losing their sense of identity, a widow making decisions alone for the first time. Or a high-producing advisor leaves, and clients suddenly start wondering whether their loyalty was to the firm or to that one person. Those moments create uncertainty, and that directly affects whether clients stay, bring over more assets, or quietly start looking elsewhere.
And I think that's where leadership has to step back and look at the bigger picture. Because if trust mostly lives inside one senior advisor's relationships, that's incredibly fragile. If a client's loyalty is tied to one person, the business is more exposed than it may look. And if younger advisors are being asked to step into those relationships without being ready for the emotional side of the transition, the firm may be creating more risk than it realizes.
That is such a big issue right now. Succession is everywhere. Senior advisors are retiring, books are being reassigned, From the firm's point of view, it all looks strategic, but for the client, it can feel like a disruption in trust, especially if the transition is treated like an operational update instead of a human one.
Because when clients get reassigned, they aren't just evaluating competence, they're evaluating safety. They're wondering, does this new advisor understand our family? Do they get what we've been through? Can they really guide us? Or are we going to have to walk them through everything from the beginning? If the answer feels uncertain, doubt gets into the relationship. And once that happens, consolidation slows, referrals slow, and attrition becomes much more likely.
That is such a strong way to put it, evaluating safety. And it's why the human side of advice is so tied to succession, retention, and growth. Firms need a way to transfer trust, not just transfer accounts. They need younger advisors to step in with real context, not just AUM.
Right. Continuity, not replacement.
And that takes a lot more than a warm intro and a couple of joint meetings.
It does. And the implications go well beyond succession. It affects how quickly a newer advisor can build trust. It affects how consistently a firm delivers a strong relationship experience. And for leaders, that becomes a real leadership question. How do we develop younger advisors faster? How do we give them the language and structure so they're not learning all of this the hard way?
Because when firms don't do that, so much gets left to chance. One advisor handles difficult conversations really well. Another avoids them. One can read family dynamics. Another only hears the surface issue. And that inconsistency becomes the client experience. And over time, that costs the firm.
It really does, because clients experience firms through moments: a transition conversation, a season of grief, a call after a diagnosis. If the firm handles those moments well, trust deepens. If it doesn't, even very strong technical work can get overshadowed.
And there's another major business reason this matters so much: the great wealth transfer. It's not just about assets moving. It's about trust moving, or failing to move. Families don't stay with a firm just because the money is there. They stay when they believe the firm gets them, when the firm has earned a place in the family's real-life decisions. When wealth transfers, the question is rarely just who manages the money. It's who do we trust with our lives.
That's such a powerful distinction. Helping families through those transitions builds a different kind of trust. It becomes proof that the firm can be counted on. And over time, that's one of the strongest ways to stand out in a market where so much starts to feel interchangeable. Technology can replicate information. It can't easily replicate felt trust.
And that's why this isn't separate from business performance. It shapes it. It helps retention, deepens client relationships, leads to stronger referrals, and helps newer advisors build trust faster. It makes the firm more resilient.
And I'd add one more thing. It also changes the kind of growth a firm gets, because when a firm gets known for how it shows up in real-life moments, it changes the kinds of referrals it gets.
Oh, that's interesting. How do you mean?
Clients don't usually refer because returns were fine. They refer because someone helped them through something hard, because the advisor knew what to say, because the relationship felt human. Those are powerful referrals.
And they tend to be much stickier too, because they come in through trust, not through a transaction. So I think what we really want firm leaders to hear is that the human side of advice is not a nice extra. It's a real business advantage.
Absolutely. It shapes whether trust transfers, whether clients stay through change, and whether the business gets stronger over time.
And that's really the point. Once you see the human side of advice clearly, it stops looking like a nice extra. It starts looking like one of the clearest drivers of trust, continuity, and long-term strength inside a firm.
If this conversation made you think differently about how the human side of advice shapes trust, retention, and the client experience, share Advising Humans with another advisor, leader, or partner who wants to lead those moments with more care, clarity, and consistency.
You can also tune in at advisinghumans.com for more episodes, show notes, and practical resources to help your team build trust through change, support clients more steadily, and make those moments easier to lead across the firm.
Because the moments that test trust are often the moments that show clients what kind of firm you really are.
Thanks for listening to Advising Humans.
We'll see you next time.